Hello dear viewers, if you've been watching my videos in the past you will know that I enjoy stealth quite a lot. I might not be the best player, but I do love to be stealthy. So when Dishonored 2 came out, I thought to myself I will definitely play this game at some point, and that point has come. So I wanted to talk about it, and I'll start with the negatives. And one of the first things you will notice is that the beginning of the game is absolute nonsense. It's just a way to create a storyline which will force you to play either as one or the other of the possible protagonists, and that's pretty much it. There's no logic to it. It's a very stupid intro, and unfortunately the whole story is going to develop in the same way. Even the final battle is based on a very stupid story idea. Jumping in this game feels like you have some kind of a weight on your head. The character will elevate from the ground slightly and then will immediately step down again. It just doesn't feel like you're jumping high. It feels like you're 150 kilos, which is strange because when it comes to movement, Corvo or Emily are both very agile, but when it comes to jumping, they just don't feel like they jump high enough to me. There are these alarm clocks that you will find around the place, and if you make the mistake to interact with them, they will immediately make a ton of noise. They won't make it actually exactly as you use them, but rather will count down a few seconds and then start going nuts. This looks like the kind of clock that you need to crank up from behind in order for it to work, and I feel like you should be able to crank in the other direction or hold it or something. You don't want to be exposed. They made this as a trap for the player, and it's not one of those traps that are deliberate in the game, but it's more of a design choice so that if the player is too inquisitive, is too curious, he basically screws himself over. I found that to be a bit cheap, but okay, better more things than less, I guess. When it comes to the game's colors, it has a very weird color palette at times. For example, in one scene you are straight out in an alley and it looks like it's in the middle of the night, it's completely dark. But if you look up in the sky or move in another part of town, suddenly it's really bright. It seems very weird sometimes. This darkness seems out of place, and this happens in multiple places. There are these special skills that enable you to take hold of a rat and then move through really small holes. Unfortunately, there won't always be rats where there are such holes. It's really weird. There were a few places where I found rat entrances, but I couldn't find a rat anywhere close, so I essentially could not use this skill in that particular instance. I suppose that either the rats are generated randomly sometimes, or for some reason they just never appeared and it was a bug. I can't tell at this point. One of the major things the plot addresses at the beginning is the so-called crown killer. It's a killer who is basically killing a lot of people who are actually enemies of the crown, enemies of Emily, and therefore of Corvo, since he's her father. And the crown killer is supposedly someone who is just pretending to do this so that the blame can fall on Corvo and Emily, so that he basically destroys their credibility. And this crown killer is made to be a big deal. Unfortunately, however, you kill him off really early in the game, and it felt like it was too soon to me. It felt like this should have been something to deal with later on in the game. And those are pretty much all the complaints I have with the game. I actually think it's a really good game, and we're gonna move to the many positives here. First of all is the good level design. Some levels are straight out crazy. They move, they change, and you have to play with that. You also have time travel, which modifies the level very significantly. Time travel being one of my favorite mechanics to see in a game at any time. Then we have beautiful visuals. The game just looks so much better than Dishonored 1, and generally looks really good for a game that runs so well even on weaker systems. Another thing that I enjoy is the fact that we have kill cams. If you are stealthy and, for example, you shoot a dart, you're going to see through the dart's point of view, which is very cool. The skills themselves are also very useful, and since you have a second character now, Emily, you get a completely new skill set for her, which is very interesting. Also, the map involves a lot of points of entry, so you're not confined to just going in through the main entrance. You have many options, and most of those are tied to the potential skills you may have. Exploration in this game is quite entertaining, and not only is it being rewarded by getting different things such as skill points, but it also is just simply very rewarding in terms of giving you the ability to attack someone from a more stealthy way, and especially for the guys who like to go non-lethal, this offers even more possibilities. The environment itself can also be used to dispose of enemies. For example, we have blood flies, these really weird red mosquito kind of things that kill anything. You can use and abuse these to kill a lot of guards, so that's pretty cool as well. Another really interesting approach is that right at the beginning of the game, you basically have a choice to refuse the outsider and not take the powers, and you play powerless. You play as Corvo, just being an assassin but not having these superpowers, which can make for some really interesting interesting and difficult playthroughs. The game also has these smaller puzzles. Usually they will involve a safe and you have to find a combination. The combination will be hidden in plain sight in most cases. It's quite interesting and rewarding to get those. I enjoyed them as well. Another thing that I really like and that was also present in Dishonored 1 was the gore. You have proper gore here. You cut off heads, you pop them, you can do a lot of stuff here. Another great thing that the game offers you straight off the bat is the possibility to customize the difficulty to your liking. Being able to tweak small things, making the game more difficult in some aspects or easier in others, is a great way to adjust the game even more to your way of playing. Ultimately, the game is a lot of fun. I can definitely recommend it to anyone who enjoys playing stealth games. If you like to play first-person games in general, you should go for this game. Just don't expect too much of a story here. It's a game that offers great gameplay, but the story is lacking. Still, I think most people will be able to get their fun out of this one. Thanks for watching and have a great day.